Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of Questions with Connie. So I have a new sign behind me, as you can see, that I made myself. Let me know what you think about it. I would love your opinions in the comments. So yeah, let me know. But for today's episode, we will cover a big question that I got asked today, which is Universal or Disney? Which is better? Or which do you prefer? So that is kind of a loaded question. There are quite a few parts to that, so I will likely have to break this video into several parts, just because there's a laundry list of different things that you have to consider when comparing the two parks. Overall, I mean, you can tell I'm actually wearing a Universal hoodie as we speak, so I'm kind of biased on that one. Pretty much anyone who knows me can tell you that I definitely prefer Universal. Both me and my husband do, for sure. So just to kind of get into some of the details on how those compare and things you have to consider, there's quite a few. Price comparison is definitely one of them. That can kind of vary. It really depends on what time of year, because their prices kind of change. Also, it can depend on how many days you're staying, how long you want to be at the parks, all those things. If you want to do other things other than just do parks, or if you're doing something else, because that's definitely something to consider. Price point is definitely a big one. So I would say looking at the price of tickets around the time that you're thinking of traveling is number one. Because that's kind of going to be your base amount that you're going to be looking at. So definitely look at that. Number two, are there children in your party, or is this an all-adult venture that you're going on? The reason that I say that is because that makes a big difference on which park is going to focus on what. And what I mean by that is that obviously Disney is aimed toward kids. That's just kind of common sense if you know any of the Disney movies. But that being said, there is something for adults at both. There is something for kids at both. However, I would say that the scale on what there is for either group varies from park to park. So I would say Universal, in my opinion, is more geared toward adults. I find it more enjoyable as an adult. And I've been to Disney as a kid and as an adult, so I can kind of weigh in on both. I will say that it definitely was more enjoyable to me as a child. I did enjoy some aspects of it when I went as an adult, so it's not completely lost on all adults. Believe me, there's a lot to enjoy as an adult. It's just that there is a lot more for kids, because it is Disney, so that's something to consider. So whether you're looking for, to aim to entertain children, or you're entertaining adults, that's another aspect to look into. Looking at the attractions and what there is available for both is definitely something to look at. So I will plug in throughout the video some of the photos of things that my husband and I did at both, so that way you can kind of see. And also, by no means is this video intended to drag either park. You're going to make your own opinion on your own by looking at it on your own. Of course, this is your money, so you should decide how you're going to spend it. This is just my opinion. I definitely recommend doing your own research. Watch other YouTubers, watch other reviews of both hotels, different aspects of the parks, just to kind of see what fits your lifestyle and your party better. But that being said, the thing to think about is walking. How active are you? Because me and my husband went to Disney. We expected to walk, but we did not really fully comprehend just how much walking you were doing, basically the magnitude of it. So you can easily walk 10 miles or more every day at either park, but I would say that you're guaranteed almost to walk 10 plus miles at Disney, just because the parks are so much larger and it's so much further spread apart, I would say, as far as the attractions, food, things you're going to do. And especially as a first timer like we were, we had to pre-plan everything, do our reservations for our meals. We also had to do our rides and everything. We just wanted to plan everything out because we wanted to make sure we got the most bang for our buck while we were there. So that being said, it meant kind of having to run from point A to point B because we weren't sure where everything was. So we had to make time to run places and also to get on the buses that park hopped from one to the other. When it comes to Universal, I would say that you do slightly less walking only because the parks are somewhat smaller. And the reason I say that is because, and I'm not sure, square footage wise, they could be the same size. It just could be the way they're laid out. But to me, the way that it, is, I find it easier to go from point A to point B at Universal. It was much easier for me to get familiar with where things are. So I really liked that aspect of it. I found it pretty easy to go from one park to the other because you can walk to them. Islands of Adventure and Universal Studios itself, you can just kind of walk from one to the other through City Park, which is really nice and convenient because if you go from one to the other, if you see that a wait time for a ride is short, you can kind of make your way over there relatively quickly without having to get on a bus of any kind or without having to get on a train. But yeah, so that's just kind of my take on that part of it. I find it easier to walk around and maneuver and get from point A to point B at Universal, personally speaking. But that's how I feel about it. But you can, like I said, check it out for yourself. And again, depends on weighing out your options on what you want to do, which one seems like the better choice. Food quality. So this one's one to both me and my husband agreed that Disney's food quality for us definitely won out on the food at Universal. While we still love Universal better, we think that the caliber of food that you can get at Disney just overall didn't matter if it was a snack option or quick service or a sit-down restaurant. All of the food options were definitely of higher quality flavor-wise to us. Of course, that's a matter of opinion and it's objective. You might have a different opinion when you try the different options, but that's just how we felt about it. We definitely thought that, there's a steakhouse, and I will insert a photo of what it's called and the filet mignon, I believe, that we had, and the dessert. That was, I believe, in Magic Kingdom. That's super, super good. We had that as kind of our anniversary type dinner thing. It was really, really good. And I don't think we've had anything yet at Universal that has quite met the quality or caliber of that meal. So that's kind of part of why we gauge it that way. But don't get me wrong, Universal has a bunch of really great options, including several restaurants that are in City Walk that are amazing. We definitely frequent the Chocolate Emporium. The chocolate bread is to die for. I'll insert photos of it here. We also go to the Hard Rock. We go to several restaurants inside the parks as well. And I'll make sure I put in photos here so that way you can see those. But yeah, there are several that are really good. So definitely not saying that Universal's bad. It's just, to us, the other park is definitely better. But again, matter of opinion. Next, as far as size accommodation. So I am not a small, tiny person. At my heaviest weight, I was around 265, 267. And my husband is also on the heavier side when we went to Disney. So that was another factor when it came to how much the walking affected us. So that is something else to consider. The other thing about that is when it comes to size accommodation for the attractions, Disney definitely does have a better accommodation. I believe the way they refer to it is the poo-sized or poo-shaped maybe. Guests shouldn't have a problem fitting in, and they are absolutely right about that, because even at our largest size, we didn't have any problem getting on all the rides. And like I said, I definitely had issues walking that much, from all the park attractions, walking to and from all the restaurants. So I would say, if you're afraid that you may not meet the size requirements, because I want to say that for Universal rides online, it specifies that it's about 40-inch waist is the size max for fitting on the rides. I will say that is fairly accurate. I know there are videos of people that have certain maneuvers they do in order to try to fit on certain rides, like Velocicoaster. Personally, I'm not going to try to work my way around a safety guideline. I am not going to feel comfortable with that. Also, I don't want to run the risk of waiting in a long line only to get up to the ride, sit down, try to fit, and be completely crushed when I can't fit and they have to tell me, hey, you can't get on here. So personal opinion for me is, I'm going to try the ride testers. If they don't give me the green light, I'm not going to get in that line. That's, again, just my personal preference. Some people have done videos showing you how you can try to, kind of maneuver yourself in order to be able to make it go down. But again, just because I am one of those paranoid people that thinks that everything that's going to go wrong can go wrong and will go wrong, I'm not going to try that. So if that is a concern, then Disney is a somewhat better option, just because of the fact that you will likely be able to ride more rides if you are on the larger set size. But if you're not, and that's not an issue for you, then either one is fine, because you're going to have tons of options on either side. But yeah, just wanted to make sure and mention that, because I know for my particular family that was a concern. The other thing, so merchandise. I'm obviously, as you can tell, a big time Halloween fanatic. So for me, that plays a big part, in my opinion, on how I feel about the merchandise that either park comes up with each year. So I have bought a couple different of the Disney Halloween shirts that they've come out with. I don't think I've bought any other kind, but every Halloween I usually check them out just to see what they've come up with, if it's something that I like. It's more rare that I want to buy something that's Disney, because it is a little bit on the higher end on price point, but also it's not necessarily something I want aesthetically, just because I like things that are lean more toward the horror side, if I'm going to get something. But that's just, again, my personal preference. Other people may just love everything Disney, and that's totally fine. But for Halloween Horror Nights, which, if you don't know what that is a big thing that Universal does every year. And basically it is a time period toward October. I will insert the dates that they do that whole thing through at this point in time in the video. But basically it's a whole thing they do for Halloween. They go all out for it. It's something that we get hyped for every single year. We make sure that we plan kind of one of our big vacations at that time for Universal for that reason, because they do a whole lot of things. The whole park is all decked out. They do a lot of lighting. They do a lot of fog. They have all their staff is just decked out in costumes, and it's just a whole lot of fun. And then, of course, there are themed haunted houses every year, and you do have to buy a separate ticket for that particular event, and it does shut the park down early after a certain period. But that is really, really fun. It's something we look forward to every year. 9 times out of 10, we buy merchandise from that every year, just because it is our cup of tea. So for us in particular, I will definitely say that Universal wins out when it comes to merchandise, just because I can tell you almost every time we visit, I want to buy something else they've made, whether it's Jurassic Park related or whether it's horror related. or whatever. That's just kind of more my vibe than the Disney stuff, personally speaking. But also they do cool things like tribute stores, which they did this last one last year, sometime I believe in June or July-ish. It was sometime in the summer. And they did a Jurassic Park tribute store, which did, throwbacks to the original movie from the 90s. And that's my childhood in a nutshell. So we definitely flew in for that, in particular for a weekend visit. Super, super fun. I will put in the pictures and different things that we saw while we were there. It had tons of photo ops, specific merchandise that they come out with for the tribute store that you can basically, some of it we found out you do get to buy later on. They do kind of sprinkle it throughout the other merchandise stores. So not all of it is only for that tribute store, but you don't really know which ones won't be continuing and which ones will. So it's kind of one of those things, you got to get there and buy what you want before it's gone. So that was a lot of fun to go and see and be a part of, because they brought in a lot of stuff from the original movie, including the big Triceratops, which we got to take a picture with, including other set design things that were really fun to take pictures with. So I will put that here so that we can kind of see what that looks like. And if that's something you would like, then Universal might be something you'll lean toward. And let's see. So, something to mention about Disney when it comes to Halloween, they do have something called Mickey's Halloween Party. That is like its own separate thing. I won't go into all the details for that because it is kind of this thing that they do. It's not at all as in-depth as the Halloween Horror Nights, as far as I would say, but look into it, because if it's something that you're interested in, you might want to look at that and weigh out which one you want to do. That one's definitely more kid friendly. Halloween Horror Nights is definitely more adult, but if you have a kid that likes horror movies like I did, then either one. Attractions. So I will say, for rides and attractions, for us in particular, Universal is definitely a lot more apt toward what we like, which is the thrill rides. First of all, Velocicoaster, best, smoothest roller coaster in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I've never ridden everything in the world, obviously, so that's an exaggeration. However, I've ridden quite a few roller coasters. I'm in Texas, so I've ridden Texas Giant and all the roller coasters at Six Flags, all the ones at Fiesta, Texas, etc. And I've ridden all the ones at in Orlando, as far as SeaWorld, and at Universal as well, and quite a few at Disney also. And nothing tops Velocicoaster for me. That is the smoothest, funnest, biggest thrill ride. I would say definitely my number one ride. They are opening soon Epic Universe, which is a whole fourth park for Universal. And the reason I bring that up is because attractions wise, Universal, I feel like, is doing a lot more updating, and they're doing a lot more keeping up with trying to just cater more to their clientele. So they're always trying to innovate and advance and update, and I personally love that, because here in Texas, Six Flags, although they do update every now and then, it's nowhere near to the caliber of Universal, and you feel it when you go there. A lot of the rides are older than I am, and are in bad need for a paint job. Upkeep of the park overall is just not as great as it should be. But that being said, they're making that whole new park. It is going to have Nintendo World. It's going to have basically portals into different universes, is how they're painting it, and it definitely looks that way in the concept art. They are really far into that, to the point that it's going to open this coming year, which is 2025, and that is extremely exciting. It's right around the corner. I feel like it'll get here before we know it. There are 2 hotels near it that are already almost finished, and then they are building one called the Helios, which is actually inside the park, which is the first one they've done inside, which is really, really cool. So that is something to look into. If you haven't seen it, definitely look at Epic Universe and the concept art. Universal Orlando has a YouTube page, and they do have a whole video about it, the engineers and how they thought of everything, and it's really, really exciting and cool to look at. So definitely check that out. I will try to link it below as well, so that way you can see it and get a direct link to it. But that being said, exciting things coming. They're also updating and adding a Shrek land area. It's like a DreamWorks area. They've got Kung Fu Panda, and they've got Trolls area and all this stuff, which I personally have been a fan of Shrek since I was, younger, when it first came out, which I know most people my age are. So that's going to be exciting to see, even if you're not a kid. So that's another thing that's cool. That's kind of near the ET ride. So that's really cool because it's almost completed, so you can kind of see it over the little walls that they put up. So that's neat. And that's also coming. The other thing I would say is City Walk and Disney Springs. So I didn't personally get to go see Disney Springs just because I didn't know where the heck it was. When I went, I was so busy running ragged from park to park and then getting on the bus and trying to get back to my, I stayed at Pop Century at the time. So again, I'll put pictures of all this while I'm talking, but going through all that and going from one place to the other and kind of running around all day and just walking endless amounts, what felt like endless amounts anyway. Me and my husband never really found the time to go and see Disney Springs. From what I understood, it was kind of a shopping area, and honestly, that just did not sound appealing to me. After walking around the park all day, I was exhausted. I honestly just wanted to take a shower, wash my parts, and lay down because I did not want to spend another second on my feet. And also, honestly, shopping isn't entirely the most exciting part to me of a vacation. It's kind of just a byproduct, something you kind of do on the way out, I'm more about the experiences and getting, good pictures of the fun memories that you're having. So that's just kind of my main thing. But overall, just to kind of summarize everything we've just gone over, biggest reasons that I love Universal is, again, it's more geared toward adults, bigger, better attractions in my opinion that are just more my cup of tea. I think that for the price point, I enjoy being at Universal much, much better. I think eventually, like I said, I can break down each one of these categories a lot further. And I will likely, if any of you are interested in any particular topic getting discussed in more detail, please let me know in the comments. I will definitely try to do that for sure. But yeah, I think that overall, I just have a better experience at Universal. It is just definitely more something that I really like to do. I think that even if you're going just for a few days, or if you're going for 4 or 5, maybe even 6 days, that you can still have a great time at Universal, same as you would at Disney. Disney, I think you kind of are, well, it's not really required, but you really need to have 3 or 4 days at minimum to be able to see even a majority of the parks. If you're going to Universal, technically you could see all of it in only a few days, but I would recommend, if you are going to do that, to stay at a premier hotel that is close to the entrance, and also that comes with the unlimited express pass. And the reason for that is because if you're going to deal with lines or things like that, and you want to make sure that you get to see those rides or ride those rides that you have been looking forward to, you want to make sure that you get the chance to do that. So that being said, in a nutshell, like I said, those are the main reasons that I love Universal. I will definitely be back year after year because it is just kind of beloved now. For me and my husband, it's just kind of our tradition that we go there at least every October for the Halloween Horror Nights. We have also enjoyed going to something called howl-o-scream, which is a thing that SeaWorld does. Also super fun. You get to ride a lot of their big rides at night, which is fun. And also they have a lot of cool haunted houses that you can do. So I would definitely suggest checking that out as well. If you maybe want to do Disney and just a little bit of Halloween, like a horror-ish stuff, then that's kind of a good combination because they are at a much lower price point than you would find at Universal. But that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any questions or any suggestions, or like I said, if you want me to expand on any of the topics that I just went into, leave some comments below. And thanks again so much for watching Questions with Connie.